Welcome back to my channel for a short Leica episode, and this is about revisiting the Super-Apo-Summicron-SL lens 21mm for the Leica SL system. It's a Leica L-mount lens. You can also shoot it on Panasonic and Sigma cameras, and it has a widest open aperture of f2.0. And this is my most favorite wide-angle lens, and that's why I want to bring it back to the channel. When the lens hit the market back then, I of course delivered my lens review on the channel, but now after some time has passed by, I think it's time to bring it back into the memory of Leica shooters, L-mount shooters, and show you a little bit what this lens is capable of. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so, subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. Many thanks for that. Alright, so this is mounted on my Leica SL3 reporter and is, as I said, my most favorite wide-angle lens. And I have a couple of most favorite lenses, and I recently showed you again also revisiting a veteran lens in the SL system, my Leica Vario-Elmarit-SL 24-90mm, and this is my most favorite zoom lens. My second most favorite L-mount lens is actually not from Leica, but is from Panasonic, and is the Lumix 24-105 lens, which I also reviewed here on the channel. And now in terms of prime lenses, Apo-Summicron lenses, for instance, I love them all on the Leica SL3. But in terms of wide angle and in particular street photography, I come back to this topic in the course of the video various times. This is really my lens to go to because it has absolutely fantastic optical properties. The image quality is terrific and the specifications are just perfect for street reportage and documentation. Let's quickly talk about the focal length. So 21mm clearly is a wide-angle lens, but not super wide. And I personally don't like a lot 18mm or 16 or 15mm focal length lenses. I like 21mm more. And this lens is just at the edge of being wide enough for capturing a whole room if you stand in the corner, because its diagonal viewing angle is 91.7 degrees, but it doesn't go super wide so that everything you have later in the frame is super small. And I think this is the perfect compromise. 21mm is just a fantastic focal length. In terms of technical data points, let me remind you a little bit. It's a complex construction. We have all in this lens 14 lens elements in 11 groups, and we have 3 aspherical surfaces among these lens elements. And there is a reason why Leica calls this a Super-Apo-Summicron. Apo-Summicron lenses are already typically the best of the best you can choose in the Leica universe, but a Super-Apo-Summicron. And I think actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the first ever introduced Super-Apo-Summicron in the Leica SL lineup. That gives you even more. And the focusing range here is 21 centimeters, so 0.21 meter to infinity, very close to your subject, and you get a maximum magnification if you go to the minimum focusing distance of 1 to 5.3, which is close to 20%. And we can quickly try this out. I have a subject here, and this is my Fuji GFX lens, the Fujinon GF 50mm, widest open is an f3.5, and it has a very strange adapter connected to it. Look at that. Let me see if I can quickly unmount this here. This is a very interesting adapter, and it's called the Boryoza. I don't know if I pronounced this correctly. It's a Chinese lens adapter, and I've not gotten this to properly work at this point in time, but it's supposed to connect Fuji GF lenses from the GFX medium format camera system to Hasselblad-X cameras. So for instance, to my Hasselblad-X 2D Mark II. And it has here on the Hasselblad side electronic contacts, and it also has electronic contacts here on the lens side where it connects to my Fuji GF lens. and it's an autofocus adapter. So with this lens, it should be possible to shoot Fuji GF lenses with full autofocus, subject detection and everything on a Hasselblad-X camera body like my X2D Mark II. And I will bring this to the channel the moment in time I get it to work. Right now is not working. I get autofocus to work, but I cannot control, for instance, the aperture. But it's an interesting, definitely an interesting, I think, subject for trying quickly out the close-up shooting capabilities of the Super-Apo-Summicron 21mm. So let's quickly try this out. Let's place the Fujinon GF 50mm here on the table with the adapter mounted. And let's get the Leica SL3 into minimum focusing distance. Let's see. Here we go. I can go closer. Still working. Closer. Still working. And here it fails. So here we go. Let's take a shot. And let's have a look. Look at that. Very nice. And clearly is very capable of product photography, what you can do with this 21mm lens, and is super, super sharp. I showed this in my introductory video for this lens, and is super crisp, has absolutely fantastic contrast and micro contrast and everything, and is close-up shooting capable. So really, really nice. What I wanted to show in this video here, of course, are sample images in the same way I did for my revisiting the Vario-Elmarit 24 to 90mm. And the occasion was that I was at the Leica Summit Switzerland, and we had on the evening before the event a photo walk with a very, very interesting photographer who was leading the pack through the streets of Bern downtown. And I was there, of course, with my Leica SL3 and my 21mm Super-Apo-Summicron widest open f2.0. So let's have a look at the footage, and I will also show you a few images which are not from that particular day, just to underpin what I said about quality, and in this way hopefully provide some interesting data points for you. All right, let's go right into sample images. And as just said, I was participating in the photo walk with this very cool street photographer. His name is Matt Stuart. I showed you his website already. And the job was basically to walk downtown in Bern and to take photos of whatever catches our interest. And I like these type of exercises a lot. And Matt is also a really cool guy. I'll show you a few pictures of him in a moment. So here, the group was starting at the Hotel Bern, and you see people coming together, gathering here. It was very challenging from the light situation because it was evening, and we had, to some extent, very harsh sunlight still from the evening sun, and nevertheless a lot of shadow. And that is always a tricky situation and also requires some post-processing. So the walk started. And you see here Matt Stuart in action. And this gives you a first example how sharp this Super-Apo-Summicron 21mm really is. I was shooting here widest open. You see the background is a little bit blurred out. And it's shot at f2.0, ISO 100, so based on native ISO of the camera. And look at his face and the detail you get here. He was wearing a really cool shirt for this lecture. This lesson, this photo walk course in street photography, was saying icebreaker and then 25 cent. And look at the level of detail you get and how his skin, the tonality, everything comes across. Absolutely fabulous. This is, as I said, and I will say it probably another 3 times when walking you through the sample images, my most favorite wide-angle lens on the Leica SL3. Here you see him making a gesture, and the gesture had the purpose to indicate people that they should come to the location where he was standing so they could see him. He's a tall guy anyway. And by raising his hands up in the air, you could see him even better in the crowded streets of Bern. And again, look at the incredible detail. Character and structure of faces with a 21mm lens. How cool is that? No distortions at all. It looks really, really good. And the guy here is already blurry. Look at that. He's looking at Matt Stuart. He's laughing because he likes his humor and the gesture he's making, but he's not in the focus plane. and he's already a little bit blurred out. And that is something which you achieve, of course, by shooting this Super-Apo-Summicron widest open at f2.0. Here he was explaining he was shooting a Q camera, as you can see here, clear. And again, look at the level of detail and the character in the face coming across with that wide angle lens. Very nice. So people who say that wide angle lenses are not good for people photography, they're actually mistaken. You can actually take very nice shots if you have the right wide angle lens. Here, this is Andreas. Andreas is the head of the Leica Academy Switzerland. I personally think he's the coolest Leica Academy head we ever had. He's a good friend. And I think he manages all these courses, lectures, these events in an absolutely fabulous way. And you see here the challenge, the shadow and the light. And look at Andreas, how well he is rendered. He has a very serious look here in his face, probably thinking about his next academy session, but a very nice image of him. And he also had a camera with him. And that here is also a Q camera, as you can see. Quite nice. All right, let's continue. Andreas again, this time a bit more prominent in the scene, and the sun was very, very strong. So he had his eyes a little bit closed. And then you see the streets were crowded. People are sitting outside, enjoying a drink, a cold beer in the evening, whatever it was, and walking down the streets and taking photos of whatever catches our attention. That was the mission of this evening. You see here Matt Stuart again raising his hands to catch the attention of the Leica shooters to come to his place where he was standing. Look at that, with his Q camera in the hand. Very nice. I like a lot the image quality of this lens. This is one of the very prominent buildings in Bern city. It's called the Zeitglocke, or in English, the time bell. And look at this. Very nice. This was now shot in landscape mode when it comes to aperture, in my personal opinion, zone f8.0. All shot with base native ISO of 121mm here, of course, coming from that lens, 1/160 seconds, and it looks really good. And like always with people in the street, okay, here we see Andreas is smoking. I'm not sure I wanted to show that, but here we see him. And like always, if you take photos with, let's say, 1/100, 1/160 seconds on a street scene, people who don't move, they will be sharp and in focus. People who move will very likely have some motion blurriness. But the overall frame at f8.0, super sharp, super crisp. Here again, the crowd, I think I can skip that. Matt Stuart again in action, explaining what's going on. And you see here the other guy passing by in motion blurriness, also here on the left-hand side of the frame. And again, people looking at him, working with their cameras, like this lady here, and listening to what he has to say about street photography. His footage is absolutely amazing. I showed you his website before. Have a look and judge yourself. I think we can learn a lot from Matt Stuart, and I enjoyed the evening big time. The crowd again, walking down the streets of Bern. You see here, this side of the street is completely in shadow, so I had to lift up shadows in post-processing. This side here has harsh sunlight, so I had to make sure I get highlights down here and get it not overly bright. But that's a job for post-processing and nothing the camera can change. My Leica SL3 and the Super-Apo-Summicron, they are just capturing the scene as it comes across with the light that's available and in place. Then here there was a fountain, and there were a bunch of quite interesting people around that fountain, and I wanted to show you. So this lady here was moving a little bit, so we have motion blurriness. This guy had his fingers on his sunglasses and is kind of sharp. There is another guy sitting in the background here, someone sitting here, probably also moving, not super sharp. The fountain itself is very sharp. And you see always when you go through cities in Switzerland, all kinds of interesting people. I really enjoyed it because diversity is clearly something that makes a city lively and interesting. And that's what we do in street photography, right? We try to capture that scene. Here, that woman was catching my attention. She has sunglasses on. Almost half of her body here is in shadow. A little more than half of the other side of her body is in harsh sunlight. And she was just sitting there and reading a book and enjoying the evening. And again, in the surrounding, you see how sharp this all is and how contrast, micro contrast, and all the good properties from this fantastic optics play into fantastic footage. This is really cool. Homemade hot chocolate, look at that. Ice cream cone and decorated with flowers. Very nice, creative, like it. Here, this old lady caught my attention with her helmet on top of her head and her sunglasses. And she was probably trying to liberate her bicycle here and have a ride home. I don't know, but I find it fascinating and actually admirable if people, when they get older, still do their sports, still dress up in this way. Very sporty dress here. Probably a very nice old lady, and probably also very interesting to get in touch with her and start a conversation. Here people again gathering in the group, and here you see motion blurriness again from a bike coming by. I don't think that disturbs the scene in any way, because you have the static subjects here, the people standing in the group, and you also have the static buildings, which are pinpoint sharp, and then a little bit of a dynamic element with a bike passing by is actually a nice thing to have in the scene. Andreas again, he was doing the photo model here. So Matt Stuart asked him to walk down in the middle of the street, and people were supposed to take photos of him. I hope they all decided on their Leica cameras, if it was not an M, but let's say an SL camera or a Q camera, for human subject detection, tracking, and autofocus continuous. I have no idea what these people all did. And Andreas, as you see here, took it very serious. He walked down the street and people could take photos of him with this beautiful background of Bern downtown. Here another scene again, static subjects in the background, pinpoint sharp, very crisp, and motion blurriness from someone passing by with a bike. And then we came to the part of the city where you also get some panoramic shots. And you see here on the right-hand side, River Aare flowing, you see old houses. There is a big recreation area here, which is not in that image, but from where you can overlook this area. And this is all rendered, captured with a lot of detail, 60.3 megapixel. That's what we see in the metadata. Again, challenging light situations. Here more in the shadows, here more in harsh sunlight, but all captured very nice. And look at the roof, for instance, of these houses, the contrast, micro contrast, the details, the sharpness, the clarity you get. Just very nice. This is Ivan. I was capturing him from behind here, behind his back. And he is the head of Leica Marketing Switzerland. And again, another example how sharp this Super-Apo-Summicron is. Look here. If you would want to spend a few days, you could count every single hair on his head here. Very nice. And you also see this was shot at f4.0, so a little bit stopped down compared to the widest open aperture of f2.0. But you see that there is three-dimensional depth in this image in the way people around him are a little bit blurry, and Ivan himself here is pinpoint sharp. Very nice image. This is Misha. Misha works for the Leica store in Basel. And this is Carlos, the store manager of the Leica store in Zurich. This is Andreas again. Sorry, I zoomed out. This is Andreas again. And you see, everyone from the Leica family was kind of here at the Leica Summit 2026 in Bern. And really good image, I think, and just capturing a scene, which is what photography is all about, capturing a scene, a moment, and will very likely not be all together in this constellation, in this group, in the same place at a future point in time. This is Alex. Alex is the managing director for the lights auctions in Vienna. So he gets all these super cool gadgets which go then into the auction, including all the vintage cameras. And we also see here, stopped down to an f4.0 based on the sharpness and incredible detail you capture here, that he is taking photos with a Leica M Safari. This is Safari green here. So you also get details what type of camera he preferred to have with him when he traveled from Vienna to Switzerland here. Carlos again, the store manager of Leica Zurich. Here he was leaning on the ceiling and taking a picture. And look at the level of detail again. Very nice. This is again an f4.0. Then here I found this woman basically down on the ground in the grass and really trying to suck in as much evening sun as possible. And I found this quite funny, and a lot of people sitting here also find this quite funny and just staring at the women. But you know, this is a free country. We are in Switzerland, and if you are in a mood of just laying down on the ground in the grass and enjoying the evening sun, you are very free to do so. And this woman here clearly fully exploited her right to just do whatever the heck she wanted. And in this case, it was a sunbath in the evening. Here again, overlooking River Aare, And you see here, this is all captured in a very nice way, all in f4 here. And you see here, I have from the harsh sunlight not managed to get all the highlights away. This is a bit too bright. I should probably rework that image here, the other side. So this is looking to the left-hand side. This is looking to the right-hand side. And it's just beautiful how this lens is capturing everything mounted on my Leica SL3 reporter. And then the last image, when the group came together for the last time, getting last comments, hints, and, you know, insights from Matt Stuart, that very cool street photographer, before everyone went into different directions and likely subgroups met for dinner in the evening. Now, I promised I will also show you a few images from another shooting just to show you the low light capabilities of the lens. And this is shot now with the Leica SL3-S. And again with the Super-Apo-Summicron-SL 21mm at an f5.6 and ISO 200. And this is the famous bridge in Lucerne city here in Switzerland with the mountains in the background. And of course we have only 24 megapixel here because this was shot on the Leica SL3-S. It's also some time back that I took that image. Here another scene on that evening, also very nice, 24 megapixel only, but pinpoint sharp. The Super-Apo-Summicron-SL 21mm, guys, I can assure you, is for sure with 100% certainty the best ever wide-angle lens made in the Leica SL system. This is an absolutely brilliant lens. Here another image of a person standing here, and this was again shot at f5.6, ISO 400. And people photography with 21mm, why not, guys? And you need to make sure you have a perspective that the camera is about at the height of your chest or waist, and then you get a very nice perspective here. Look at that. Pinpoint sharp, very nice image, and nevertheless a little bit blurry in the background, so it has a bit of a three-dimensional pop. 21mm for people photography, no issue at all. And you saw it before when I showed you the images of Matt Stuart when he did the photo walk in Bern. Here the famous bridge from inside, also very nice, lots of details, 24 megapixel only and only quote unquote, but a very nice catch, nice image, evening in Lucerne city. And here, look at the waterfront. Very, very nice. Of course, you would get much more crop in reserves if you would do that with a Leica SL3 with 60 megapixel, but 24 megapixel is still a really good resolution for pro photography. I will stop my presentation here, but I wanted to show you at least some other images. And this is just absolutely mind-blowing how this lens is capturing the scene in front of the camera. Look at that. Very, very nice. And with this, I conclude my walk through sample images and will now quickly conclude the video. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to say and show. I hope you liked my presentation. This 21mm Super-Apo-Summicron-SL has my full recommendation. It's an absolutely fantastic lens. And I think, by the way, also from a design perspective, proportion-wise, is a terrific lens for a Leica SL camera body. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.